Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognard Show. Today is Wednesday, October 1st, 2025, just after 10 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, coming up this weekend is Dragon Days, the Dragon Days Fantasy Festival, Fantasy Crossroads of the World's Festival. Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, of course. TSR came out with a ton of fantasy fiction in their time while they were here, and it dominated the fantasy fiction world market. And to this day, that whole genre of fantasy, of fiction, rather, has been forever changed because of what took place here in Lake Geneva in the 90s, late 80s, on into the 2000s. The TSR was here, which, takes you up to about 2000. In any event, it is a fact. I love my OSR shirt. It is a fact that without TSR, science fantasy was a big thing. I often remark when I talk about Appendix N books that the main influence there, once you get past Tolkien and Robert E. Howard, even if you're not looking toward kind of that horror Lovecraftian sort of thing, most of it was not like straight up fantasy fiction. It was science fantasy, mostly somebody coming out of the real world and winding up in a strange alternate world or on another planet, like John Carter of Mars, where there are fantasy elements, but it's rooted in some sort of science or real world starting point. But not so, of course, with Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, and Robert E. Howard. Well, sure, they say it's a world that existed before time on our own planet, but that obviously has nothing to do with today. It's not like there are people time traveling back to it in those stories, so it's its own world. And that sort of fantasy fiction then became popularized even more so through TSR. Obviously, there were forerunners between one and the other. You had Brooks and Eddings and a couple others who were not part of TSR, but were bolstered a great deal by what was happening at TSR. And there are others on Appendix N. I'll point you to Appendix N itself and videos by myself and others on what is in Appendix N, and you can discover for yourself what is true straight up fantasy fiction and decide whether or not you think that had much to do with TSR. But that's celebrated at Dragon Days. So, and you know what? Gaming and Gary and Lake Geneva and its legacy of fantasy and gaming is all celebrated along with it. So come on out. I think you can pick up your wristbands on Friday at the opening ceremonies that they do near the library, but Saturday and Sunday there is all sorts of goings on. And what else did we have? I think there was I wanted to point out also Friday and Saturday, Tenzer's Last Hurrah, Ernie Gygax Jr. Memorial Gaming Fundraiser. Something that Ernie asked Donna to do before he passed was have a gathering, memorials at Dragonlands, their home here in Lake Geneva, on the 3rd and the 4th. Notice the gathering shall begin at 3 p.m. in the afternoon and close at 10 in the evening each day. Elise detailed some of the stuff on Facebook. Added to her prior post, Tom Wam and Dave Conant will be running games for those not playing D&D. Play Dungeons and Dragons. Adults $25. Children are $10. There will be a food basket available with bratwurst, chips, cookies, and soda purchase. $10. DMs that are running Dungeons and Dragons games are Bob Brinkman, fantastic fellow. Craig Johnson, another. And Dan O'Brien, there's a great guy. Wade Key, hey, he's in town. And of course, for younger players, DM Ken Haylock, a DM also for adults, but in this case, running those games. He's a wonderful guy. He works at like Geneva Games and has for over a decade on and off. And new players DM Tanner Adams, also welcome to bring games. There'll be other games available for free. People can play and have fun there all day. She's got pavilions that she's setting up out on Dragonlands, so check that out. And hey, here's something else we want to talk about today. Dave Arneson Day. It is a anniversary of his birth. He left us a year after Gary did. In 2009 he did. And let's not forget the co-creator of the original Dungeons and Dragons, Dave Arneson. And let's celebrate him today. Let's not let him get lost in the shuffle. Every bit is important. Dave Wesley's Brownstein and Dave Arneson's Blackmore. These things, without them, there's no D&D. And, some could say Dave McGarry's Dungeon board game as well. Let's throw that into the mix. All the Daves, all of the wonderful Daves that have come and helped with our great gaming hobby. So, is that about it? I think that's about it, because the clock on the wall is telling me. Now, there is one more thing I should mention, and that is that a Kickstarter kicks off today at noon. It is for the Gary Gygax Memorial Game Table for Dungeons and Dragons fans. The library park has already, and the town has already designated the spot in Library Park, the land for this memorial. They're looking to raise some money for the table itself by selling some stones around the space. Let me see if I can find that on here. There'll be a wall of honor, a scroll of honor. You'll be getting some very nifty dungeon write-up levels as part of the what's the word I'm looking for? Stretch goals and such. It'll be available, but these stones around the game table, many of them will be available for purchase. 4x8-inch paper. I think we'll have 3 lines, uppercase and spaces count too. 3 lines at 13 characters each. The 4x12-inch pavers, the longer ones, will have 3 lines, 20 characters each, and those will be available for people. Here's what they will look like. The 4x8s and the 4x12s, more or less, just some mock-ups. They're not exactly. You'll put whatever you want on them. That's the idea. So there'll be the table with the throne and with a bronze statue of Gary seated at it. And so you'll be able to go and sit and play games at that table in the park in the beautiful weather when it is beautiful. And, basically be playing with Gary. Bring an extra chair to sit down the other end, I guess, if you want to run a game from the end of a table, because you're not moving the bronze statue, my friend. That's not how that works. So there you go. That's a lot of information in a very short time, but it covers just about everything for this weekend, this week, and so on. I'll be back next week with more stuff for you, but this was a OK Grognard show on Dragon Days Fantasy Festival here in Lake Geneva, October 3rd through 5th. Come check it out. It should be a lot of fun. Don't forget, our show streams live on Twitch each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, and then it's archived on YouTube. Support the channel even at the free level on Patreon and join such illustrious people as Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games, Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Farnan of the Andy D&D 20, Dave O'Brien, unauthorized user, Death Angel Shadow, Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland of Gaxland, Vince Ragusa of the Maroon Room, an excellent prog rock band. Thanks for being in the chat today. Dan Caldwell of Griffin and Gargoyle. A new joiner here, Martin Thomas of Daddy Roll the One, a YouTube channel with excellent long-form D&D, early D&D content. Christian Garcia, Stephanie Lesniewski-Gruchow, Cera Toppilopkus, Colin Szablewski, and as always, DM extraordinaire Shane Bradley. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Thank you, and bye-bye.